You feel now, or have you felt, are you still grappling with the idea or your belief or the experience that you feel like the borderline you were with, just, the splitting, the push-pull, all of that, but then are they just dangling what you always hoped for once they've ghosted and discarded you, or they've discarded you but there's still some communication? Are they just dangling what you always wanted and trying to hurt you more by saying, but I'm going to give this to the next person now? So I'm going to answer a comment here that someone left on the video I did. BPD breakup. Is my ex going to be happy with the next person? Was breakup my fault? Breakups really aren't anybody's fault. It's really what the person with BPD is going through and splitting and their inability to have a healthy relationship with you in the first place. But this comment is really interesting, and it goes to the subject matter of, have you been ghosted, discarded? Are you still in contact? Whatever's going on. I got a puppy going nuts over there. And are you still feeling like really hurt because you think that the person with BPD is just now dangling in front of you when the relationship they say is over, and maybe in really confusing on-off ways? You feel like it's being dangled in front of you that they're now going to share with the next person what you always wanted? Don't worry, that's not true. But here's the comment. My ex told me yesterday that he, quote, forgives me, unquote, now for lying to him. And in the same argument still brought up the past. Last week it was he doesn't love me anymore, and now this week he said his feelings haven't changed, but he doesn't want to be with me anymore. A lot going on there. And then the commenter says, is this crazy flip-flopping contradictions typical in BPD? Well, yes, unfortunately, extremely typical, because they don't know who they are. And so they don't regulate their emotions. They don't have a consistent, congruent sense of self. Therefore, they can't really know what they want 1 minute to the next sometimes. Sounds like this person, it's very chameleon-like. It's very much, I want this, and then I don't want that. And it's a combination of fear of engulfment at times, if they're close, and fear of abandonment. They really, honestly, when they act the way that this commenter is describing a male with BPD acting, and females do it too with BPD, they really just don't know which end is up. And they always think that the grass is going to be greener on the other side. And believe me, it never is, because they carry these repetition compulsion cycles with them, with everybody that they will get close to or try to be in a relationship with. So you're not really missing out. A lot of people with codependency have FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. But you've been going through HE double hockey sticks, to put it just in a minor way. It doesn't do it justice. And this person is experiencing this flip-flopping, endless contradiction, and wondering, well, yeah, this is what people with BPD definitely do. Some do it more quickly, some do it more often. They're not all the same, but yeah, this is at the core of the center of so much of what people with BPD don't, like the traits of BPD, what it really means, and so much of what they don't know how to do in relationships and in relating, and why these relationships are impossible, and then why a person like this commenter, people with codependency, you really need to get in your own healing recovery journey. You really need to learn how to let go of this person. And I'm out here to work with people that resonate with me to help you do just that. It's a process. So the commenter continues, I found him saying he forgives me, enraging when punished for me for it. So I guess enraging and punishing the commenter for it when he said he forgave her or him, forgave the commenter, sorry. So he was raging and punishing about this forgiveness, apparently, that he was giving the commenter, and was emotionally abusive whilst we were together. And suddenly, when we are broken up, he's now saying it. Sometimes they don't realize it or they won't admit it, but then when they're breaking up, they're in a, believe it or not, if they're breaking up in a way that they are now moving to someone else quickly, then they are in this not really happy place, but this sort of like really delusional, fantasy-like place of feeling like they're better than you, of feeling one up, like, and whatever happened, who cares, because now I've got it all together, and I'm going to go off, and I don't need you, and I don't want to be with you. It's overcompensatory defense mechanisms of the unconscious repetition compulsion cycles that they're not really aware in a moment like that as they say these things to you, that they're going to go on to the next person and do the exact same things because they think it's everybody else and not them. And so he's now saying that, and he wishes the commenter all the best, but calling the commenter a narcissist. Well, this is what people with BPD just seem to tend to do. You need really not to absorb that. You really need to not trust the source of somebody calling you a narcissist who's just turned your world upside down, hurt you, all this push-pull, all this I hate you, don't leave me, all this horrible stuff that people go through with untreated borderlines. And then the commenter continues, it's like he's still trying to hurt me by acting like he's enlightened suddenly. Oh, yes, the borderline, sudden enlightenment, well, quote, moving on, unquote, and it's over between, quote, the borderline and you, unquote. Oh, now they're so enlightened. No, they're not. It's overcompensatory defense based on unconsciously they don't realize that, yeah, they're feeling better, so now they feel one up on you, and you're in one down position in their heads, not really. And so that because they're all like supposedly enlightened because they're going on to something else, and guess what? It's going to work, so they think, erroneously, because it didn't work with you, but they're blaming you for all that, when this person, no matter what he says, he's not taking any personal responsibility. So try not to be absorbing all they say with a person with BPD like this. This is a male, by the way, or if it's a female, try not to be absorbing what they're saying because it's really skewed, it's not true, but it can be very hurtful. Are they doing it on purpose? You know what? More often than not, not really. But could they want to punish you as well? Yes. But it's really complicated because they actually don't know what they're doing. They feel all great now. They feel all enlightened now. It doesn't mean they are, though. Really, they aren't. I'll repeat this sentence. It's like he is still trying to hurt me by acting like he's enlightened suddenly. He's not enlightened suddenly. Torturing me with the very things I needed when we were together, like his forgiveness. Why'd you need so much of his forgiveness? Didn't he need a lot of yours? Sounds very codependent. And dangling in my face again, how do I make sense of this, AJ? Well, first of all, he's not all enlightened like you're believing him to be because he says so. And secondly, he's torturing you with the very things that you needed when you were together. Okay, but he can only continue to torture you if you don't reach out now, work with somebody. I'm out here to work with those who resonate with me, and if you can relate to this commenter's experience, you need to break this, betrayal bond. You need to get into your own therapy for your codependency because he might, I don't think he's consciously trying to torture you, but many people experience it that way. That's fair. Bottom line is you can only continue to be tortured because you continue to care, because you continue to compare, and you continue to believe his, yes, borderline grandiosity of delusion and fantasy that he thinks is really going to happen because he's moving on from you because apparently you did everything. And you thought you always needed his forgiveness. Sounds like he really had you spinning with his manipulation, and your codependency might be a little stronger than average, because why did you always need forgiveness? Likely it was more for what he was doing than you were, but you were trying so hard to people please him, it sounds like. Can anybody else relate to this? So how you resolve it, you wanted his forgiveness when you were together. Wow, I don't know what that's about, but it could be that, like I said, you were just people pleasing, and everything he was saying to you like, oh, now I feel this way because you did this, you did that, you did the others. Why you felt like you needed forgiveness? Lots of people fall into that trap with borderlines. And then you said, it's like he's dangling it in my face. How do I make sense of it? Well, you make sense of it by realizing that he's full of you-know-what, and that, yes, people with BPD have grandiosity as well. It's not as strong or as predominant in BPD as it is in narcissists. But when they're feeling good, and they're dumping and they're putting you in the one-down position, they can be quite delusional, quite fantastical, quite full of themselves in ways that can really hurt, but you're believing his BS. That's why it hurts so much. Don't believe it because it isn't true. And the commenter said, I don't feel like I can believe a word he's saying. Well, bingo. Trust that feeling. Trust what you actually, in a gut feeling way, you know. No, you can't trust what he's saying at all. You're right about that. Can anyone else relate to this? I feel like I can't believe a word he's saying, but if it's true, it's not true. So there is the codependent, but if, what if it's true? But if, what if he actually will go on and be happy and make the next relationship work because somehow I did all this stuff that it didn't work for the borderline in our relationship. No. Don't believe that stuff. And then you said, if it's true, it's not true. So people need to realize that, and that's really hard when you're in still a trauma bond with this person. So you need your own healing and recovery. And then the commenter continues, but if it's true that he does forgive me, it actually hurts me more, as it's like he's saying, quote, you were not worth it while we were together, and look, here's the person you wanted me to be, but you can't have it now. Wow, that is what I would call the biggest borderline scam out there. But how are they doing it, and why are they doing it that way that you end up feeling that way? And that's the impression they're trying to have you to make you believe, is because they are all chuffed up about going forward. The grass is going to be greener over there because they think everything in the relationship was your fault, and it wasn't. And it's just not true. That's what people have to know. It's not true. People with borderline personality disorder in repetition compulsions that are unconscious to them, when they're in this place, and maybe many male borderlines express this in this particular way. How many of you out there, men, has your female borderline ex expressed it similarly? Who can relate to this? Leave comments below if you want to. Share your experience. Because you all need to realize, in whatever iteration you've received, which this commenter has been told and kind of trying, doesn't really believe it, but on the other hand, is kind of absorbing it as if it were true, and is afraid of missing out and not getting what they wanted all along. And this is really the heartbreak, amongst other things, of the emptiness of the BPD discard, or telling you they're off to leave and it's all your fault and they're enlightened now and they're gonna give to some other person what they just wouldn't give you. Well, guess what? They might believe what they're saying is true, but it's not, because they don't know, quote, themselves. They have no sense of self. So they're really doing all of this, really, dangling as if they're the person now that you always wanted them to be. Well, remember how they fooled you and turned your life upside down in the first place by showing up, and you believed who they were then. Don't believe who they claim to be on the way out of the relationship. Yes, often to punish you, but also because they're so full of themselves and chuffed up at that point, because they're probably actually sadly enjoying to make themselves feel better, making you feel horrible, all to blame. Oh, you were so awful, says the borderline, that now I get it all and I'm fine. I don't know what's wrong with you. And now I'm going to give my precious, fantastic, enlightened self to the next person. It's crap. It's not true, but it can be so painful, so punishing. But I don't think they calculate it out But either way, you just have to know it's not true. So they're not really dangling this person that they're going to be for the next person that, oh, you couldn't have because of what you did. No, they're doing this dangling at the end of the relationship. And I'm glad you commented, because lots of people go through this, and I haven't really mentioned it before. They're dangling the same false persona and lack of self that you met when they first started idealizing, people pleasing, and mirroring you in the beginning of the idealization before it all went to you know where. You've been trying to get it back to that point. Now this commenter sounds like they don't really believe it, but they're absorbing it, they're taking it in, and they feel like, oh my God, now he's really who, or it could be a she, right? Now he or she, but in this case, he's really who I wanted all along, but now I can't have him. No, he's just doing the same repetition compulsion setup at the end, which not all do, to try to tell you that, remember who I was. It's like in the beginning, who you thought he was. This is as fake, as phony, as lost, as made up, as dreamed about, as fantasy for this person with BPD and many like this male. It's them trying to get you to believe at the end that somebody else is going to get that great guy or great woman that you met in the beginning. Well, guess what? What happened with you, right? You thought you knew this wonderful guy or girl or man or woman, and so now they think that's going to happen with the next person. But what you should know and what they don't know is they're going on to the next person to do the exact same thing, to experience the exact same things all over again. Honeymoon phase maybe, and then splits of evaluations, and it won't last, and it won't work. And again, people who do the endings the way this borderline male and many women do, they will then get spit up and chewed up by the next relationship, blaming the next person. The whole thing will happen all over again. They'll be telling the next person all what's wrong with them, and now they really get it, but they won't, because they're going to keep repeating all of this really hurtful, really traumatizing, really core borderline behavior and inability to relate in what are impossible relationships with these people. So it's just a repetition compulsion, and he's in fantasy land right now. And then you said, yeah, so you really feel like he's doing a dangling number. And some people with BP will do that, and I haven't talked about that before, but they're really just telling you that they're in preparation, and not always on purpose, right? But they're now feeling better again, or something, because they're going on to something new. And they probably don't even get it. They might get how they're punishing you. Whether you believe they understand all of it and whatnot or not, doesn't really matter, because what you need to do, I'm not here to work with people if you resonate with me. Get into, a healing recovery process. I can explain this better in sessions when people tell me more about the borderline in their life. And this kind of shenanigan BS of them feeling all chuffed up like they got it now, no, because they don't realize the splitting. They don't realize what they've done to you. They're not consciously aware of it or how they affected you. And it's all about them. So right now he's just all chuffed up, feeling like he's got brand new enlightenment understanding, because after all, everything, and to anyone else who can relate to this with a female BPD or whatever, now you're believing, oh my God, this person's going to be what? Who you thought they were? No, they're going to seem like who you thought they were in the beginning to the next person in the beginning, and then they're going to be exactly the same untogether, not knowing self person, splitting, childlike stuff, demanding, all about them, because they don't even understand the difference between self and other. They're going to go on to this next person and present it all over again the way that you got it. If the person is doing it on purpose or not, really hard to know, but you need to really, really get yourself into some help for your codependency and what you've been through with this guy. If you're codependent, most people are codependent. If you're asking yourself, but what if it's better with the next person? Or what if, why didn't I get it if they actually have it to give? They don't. So no matter what they say or how sort of like in borderline personality disorder, it doesn't have to extend to NPD traits, how, quote, grandiose they're acting because they're feeling all one up and they're punishing you and putting you in a one down position, which is usually where they live. Well, he's going to go on, or a woman with BPD would go on, and they're going to meet the next person, they're going to do that, and then they're going to feel one down in a hurry. And then all that stuff plays itself out again, because people who are untreated with BPD can do nothing but repeat the repetition compulsion cycles of how they don't know how to relate, arrested emotional development, demanding, childlike behavior, selfish, self-absorbed, no understanding of the difference between self and other. This guy is maybe a little more cunning than the average BPD, and maybe some men out there have experienced women like this. Don't buy it. Don't believe it. They need years of therapy to be able to actually make all this baloney that this commenter was told, like, be true. And he doesn't know who he is, and the splitting and all that stuff, like the core of what really drives so much borderline behavior, even this nauseating sort of like he's trying to dangle, if you believe it, if you swallow, is very painful. But he's just BSing himself and you. Or because they really don't know better in their head. Because what they feel in the moment is what's so real for them. So in the moments that this commenter described, he feels like he's got it all together now and he's really somebody. No, not any more than the person that you knew. And they're going to go on to do it all over again with the next person and the next person, and if there's a next and a next and a next. So it's really important that you let go of the notion. Like you said, you don't feel like you can really believe it, but that's what you know in your head, right? And many people feel like, this can't be true. I don't think I believe this person. But it still really hurts because you so long for the reality of the beginning with a facade that many people with BPD don't do on purpose. In that idealization phase, now he's sort of leaving you as if he's going into that phase with someone else. And then it's sort of like you're sandwiched between, I thought he was like this, he wasn't like this, now he says he's like this, and I'm not going to get any of it, and the next person's going to get all of it. Oh, no, 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 no. It's just not true at all. No matter what any borderline says, it's not true. And when you are codependent after all this and you're in such pain, and if you can relate to this commenter and their experience, people with codependency have cognitive distorted beliefs, go back to negative core beliefs from childhood and why you have codependency in the first place. You need to realize that when you have that, even if it's only inkling strength, I don't think I can believe this. But what if it's true? As soon as you, as a codependent right now, and somebody really hurt from somebody with BPD and some crazy relationship that's really hurt you badly, when you start sentences with, but maybe, what if, catch yourself, because believe your gut feelings. Believe what you know up here. I don't think I can believe this. I can't believe this. But what if it's true? No. Stop with the I can't believe this, because you know what? It's not true. And I hope this was helpful to the commenter, and I hope maybe other people that can relate. And maybe you've been with somebody with BPD who you had contact with, they discarded you, they ghosted you, whatever it is. So contact, and maybe they said some of these things, or they've said it differently, or they haven't exactly said it, but you certainly have felt it. Just know it wasn't your fault. You thought they were somebody that they turned out not to be. And if in parting, they're trying to tell you, yeah, I really am that woman or that guy, it's just total straight up BS. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know themselves. And these are all their overcompensatory defense mechanisms at work to help them feel better. And yeah, often for them to feel better at the end of a relationship, that's why they punish. That's why the smear campaigns. That's why this this commenter heard what this borderline man said. It's not because it's true. And it's not because it was all about you at all. It's all about them. But what do borderlines do so conveniently besides splitting and accusing and blaming and never taking personal responsibility? They try to fool you into believing they're this great woman or man in the beginning, and some of them at the end, like this borderline for this commenter, they try to make you believe again that they really are that wonderful person now. What did you see in the interim that could possibly, even when you think about it, be remotely true? So you have to remember to be thinking about it and not feeling. You're going to feel it, but you have to trust your head when you see a borderline so out of touch with themselves, because they're out of touch with themselves. And this borderline was out of touch with himself when he met you, all through the relationship, and he's out of touch with himself now, as he's telling you he's off to be with someone else who's going to get all the goods. Oh, it's such crap, but it's so painful. So trust your head, get working with somebody. I'm out here to work with those who resonate with me, and feel what you feel, and it's very painful. But don't get into the what ifs and the if onlys, because essentially that's how borderlines, maybe knowingly, maybe not knowingly, are going to play you off and put you in the one down position, which immediately makes them feel better, because that's a black and white split right there.